And here we are with 2014 Action Plan 20-something, which will be episode 20-something for a while until we decide we're on episode 30-something, because who really cares if we count them anymore? I don't think it matters. It just makes me feel old or something. Um, and Felicia is just back from the Republican Texas Party Convention thing, and apparently there was a seminar on Robert's Rules of Order, so now you can tell us how wrong we do everything? Is that the deal here?
No, no, it was focused almost exclusively on the party rules versus Robert's rules, and the reason for that is once you've adopted Robert's rules as an authority, you can change or add or make different rules that supersede Roberts in certain cases. And so it was explaining to people why, for instance, certain votes that under Roberts have 2/3 requirement to pass can pass with a simple majority at conventions. So things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, boring, unless you were me.
Which is not to say you're weird, but it's not to not say that.
Right. I own that. I totally own that. But it was cute because they did a little skit. There was one of the presenters, performed the job as chairman, and he got 4 of us that he knew to be participants in his skits, and it made it make sense to people watching it happen, and it made it a little more logical rather than just listing the things that that you would have to know. They illustrated it, and that was really nice, and I begged to borrow that script so that I can work on that.
I think that's a great idea to do it, to make it more entertaining for people, because when you're at a convention like that where so much of what the convention is about is setting the platform and figuring out the delegates and all of this stuff. It is, Robert's Rules of Order, and the rules that guide everybody's participation, they actually matter there. It didn't matter at, CPAC or at Texas Online or any of the other conferences you go to, but at a state party convention, that stuff matters.
Well, right, and the people who know procedure are the people who tend to dominate, I suppose you'd say, which was another issue of the convention, but it always is.
Well, if you know the rules, you can use the rules to your advantage.
True, and
that's
there's
the way
also,
it goes in life,
There's also, if you know the rules and other people are attempting to use them to circumvent the will of the body by doing things a particular way, then it also is a good way to defend against it.
Mm-hmm. And that, even though the whole Robert's Rules of Order thing is not interesting to me that much, the concept of, if you know the rules, you can use them to your advantage and defend against those who would also try to use them to get one over on you, that philosophy really helps in understanding really all of politics and being effective in campaigns and any kind of online action, and really in anything we do. I think really for all of us to be aware that we have to know the rules of the road, and also human nature as well. Because in knowing those things, that's understanding the foundation, and by knowing and being able to anticipate how people are going to react, how they're allowed to react, the things they're allowed to do, etc., that can help us be victorious in all of in our endeavors.
Right. Spectatorship is only going to get you so far.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of people that fancy themselves activists, but they don't want to spend any time learning formal procedures for any of the things they're trying to influence, or learning human nature that they would try to influence. And they think that if they just approach something with the truth and passion, that should be enough.
But that ain't going to cut it.
There are so many people who believe that their words, that the Constitution is some sort of magic invocation that they can spout that will stop whatever abuses that are going on, and that's why I'm always upset with people who yell just Constitution, Constitution, as though if you said it enough times, you bring to life John Adams or something.
It's like
That Beetlejuice.
it's like LARPers, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. Nice.
Okay, you go to the online games comparison, and I went to Beetlejuice. Because wasn't it
No,
Beetlejuice,
no, no,
Beetlejuice,
no, no,
Beetlejuice?
no. Yes, it was Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. But that no, I was, and I wasn't talking
Because
about. I was
in
talking
online
about.
games,
Oh, it's not online. No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Live action
live
live
action
action
role
role
play.
play.
players.
Okay, but you know what? LARPers are also online gamers. It's the same, right?
Not
Huh?
always.
Really?
Not always. No, there's a divide there. But I'll talk about the divide between live action and online RPGers in my 4-part article series that's coming out this never.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, did you guys see the thing on Time where Time.com had the um, biography name generator? They did this. It was pretty funny.
I
But
saw you use that earlier.
I used it. I came up with a 3-part autobiography. That was pretty awesome.
I would
Um,
love to see that on the History Channel.
yeah, right. What was the last one? Some I don't know. I don't even remember what they were. The whole thing's pretty funny. What was funny to me is that Time.com was coming out with something that's making fun of Hillary. The mainstream media is seriously mocking that woman.
Well, wasn't that part of some sort of...
Bye. Okay. No, Sean, it absolutely was not.
Holster pops in, holster pops out, peripatetic holster.
I'm trying to ride off of my new Wi-Fi hotspot.
Okay, I'm going to
With
say I'm
my
not all that
iPad.
impressed with your Wi-Fi hotspot, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with it either.
Yeah, the reliability is a little bit low.
Well, it's when video conferencing, yes. When I'm trying to play Tetris Blitz, it's just fine.
Well, then that's what matters.
I guess so.
Okay, so let's get to the big thing, and we'll catch Sean up on it. We need a name for this deal. Sean, what we've been doing for 25 episodes is getting our disparate groups, Conservative Union, Free Radical Network, and Party of Choice, together and talking strategy, talking marketing message, bringing in unity to the conservative Republican movement, trying to figure out, what's the right way to say things, how do we really move things forward, and we want to take this even more public. I mean, we do publish these recordings afterwards, but it's just we're not really advertising or promoting anything, and we're kind of thinking we want to make this more like a weekly salon kind of thing in the olden days, where people would just get together and we would talk through issues and how to address them and how to market them and how to frame things, and we would bring in guest speakers when we can, because Felicia knows everybody and who is anybody, and she got Kurt Schlichter and Larry O'Connor both to say they'd like to join us for a little while, and we could probably get some other folks interested in hopping in and having a chat with us, and not for it to be an overly produced thing during the show, and the show is ideally an hour, but we'll run over because we always do. And then afterwards, maybe there's a little bit of post-production, filtering things down, or coming up with at least some pointers in the hour-long show, so that we can post about it and say, at 1:23 we started talking about Eric Cantor, and then at 25 minutes and 45 seconds we were talking about how to message around this particular issue, and point people to and make it something that people can then go to the YouTube channel and see and watch and learn from, not just us who are in it, but other people can see and learn from it afterwards. And we need a name. We need a name.
Give me 24 hours.
Okay, you've got 24 hours.
24 hours. Because
and remember,
I will say,
we're thinking PG-13.
Starting.
Well, yes. I will say that after 14 hours of Tetris last night. I think I had a brilliant dream state where my dreams told me about a removable, segmentable clothing device,
Uh-huh.
which it didn't give me a name. But if my dreams could tell me that, now that this is
Now
implanted.
you're prompting them to tell you.
Oh, yes.
What
Oh,
other
yes.
add to the description that I just gave Sean for this?
You're dreaming of clothing removal?
Well, I can come up with things to avoid right now. A, round table. B, Algonquin.
Okay, good.
C,
Keep moving.
Chautauqua. Stay away from Chautauqua. Oh my God! I don't know if that was a rabbit or a dog that just ran by.
It looks
sure
like
it
it was
wasn't
a
a squirrel?
Well, it may have been. I'm sorry. I'm sitting out in my garage workshop right now.
So, guys, what other phrases and descriptors would you put to our gathering? Maybe it is just our gathering, our group, who we are.
Well, don't sound too homey.
Okay,
You
so
got a problem
homemade
with
bread.
onions?
What?
Well, and in the chat window, I put links to some name
Racist.
generators. And the one name generator I found was Queasy Toupee Republic. I liked that one.
What?
There's a band name
Oh,
generator.
so we're going Patton Oswalt on this? That's possible?
The name generator was, do you want a band? It's a band name generator. Do you want a 2-word name or a 3-word name? And I asked for a 3-word name, and it gave me Queasy Toupee Republic. I thought that was clever.
We are in a weird place right now.
Well, I need to find Ryan's post
Yes,
where we had made
that's a good.
where we had made
probably-
genuine recommendations
Yes.
or suggestions, and he just did it as a regular post rather than anything to the community, so we can't like find it later. It drove me crazy.
Right.
It's like Ryan, dude, you're killing me, man. Give me a bookmark to it. And Google Plus doesn't let us, star a post to find later.
I'd call it Hiawatha Smackdown, but that's a little too localized in the reference.
Yeah, that kind of makes no sense to me.
Well, yeah, it's an engine name and stuff.
Could be bad. We don't want to have to, have Congress send us a letter saying that we need to change our name.
Yeah, we don't.
It wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, we're talking a open roundtable of disparate groups, correct?
We're not so disparate. We're pretty similar, actually.
Well, pretty similar, but at the same time, well, and
But it's different. It's different.
Oh,
groups,
JD,
different.
you've seen it. Is that people you think you can get along with will so adamantly disagree with you for no apparent reason just because you don't believe in a 73,000 shot magazine as opposed to a 9-shell magazine.
There are so many stupid reasons that people will disagree with each other. It is not funny.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So there has to be at least a soft sell, a soft serve, a little bit of creamy goodness to attract at least the more logical amongst us, and that will also drive away. And I think it's a good example that these two shooters in Las Vegas were kicked off the Bundy Ranch because, okay, dudes, you're just a little too nutty for us.
Yeah. So
Okay, I found Ryan's post, and I'm just typing out the things that were.
Well, you don't have to type it out.
Well,
we
can just go there.
We can read
Here,
them.
let me tag Sean in.
Yes. So we had The forge. Somebody suggested the forge, but that got sort of thrown out because because it's close to the foundry.
Sean, I just tagged you in that post, so you should be able to go to it.
Okay, I'll be able to go to it. Maybe I can do that on my phone because I'm in Hangouts right now and
okay, you can't go to
see any sort of text of any sort.
Right.
Okay.
Tay said the forge, so it's kind of close to the foundry, which is the Heritage Foundation's blog. Ryan put down Quorum.
The Crucible.
Yeah.
Which academy is the Crucible?
Literary? I'm sorry?
Which academy is the Crucible?
Oh, that's right. There is one of those. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I do. The one that I liked the most out of all of those was the refinery because I think that's what we do. I think we work on messaging, we work on getting stuff.
Refining stuff from crude to useful.
Yes. So I like that one.
Plus, it's all fossil fuels. Hell yeah!
Am I supposed to take umbrage over that?
Yeah, what's Holster still doing here with crude?
What? I don't know why anybody would take umbrage at that.
I'm taking umbrage with that because it assumes that I'm just crude.
No,
that wasn't just crude.
That wasn't a hit on Holster.
Oh, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We take the
loosen the bone,
unrefined elements of issues, and we refine them into something useful that we can make energy.
Okay, technical note. Can I find the text version in my Hangouts app?
No. Can you do chats?
I'll copy and paste it into the chat.
Can you get to the chat in your Hangouts app? I've never done a Hangout app.
Well, not at the same time on the iPad, and that's why I got Android for my cell phone.
There's the Boulderbergs Powwow Tribal Gathering Super Summit, the World as It Is, the Illuminati. I just got a little weird there for a while. Never mind.
Well, if we're going along that note, how about Super Ballsy Nothing?
Okay, there you go. And instead of the Freemasons, I wanted us to be the reasonably priced Masons. And in honor of JD and his Politic the Gathering. Got it? Magic the Gathering?
I don't play anymore. It was.
And then I decided let's just go for Latin translations of words, and I did a Latin translation of the word for debate, and it was confabulor. And that just seemed really fabulous to me. It's confabulor. I know it's a little too pretentious. The refinery's good.
Would we have to wear wigs while being part of that, or?
I believe so, yes. Oh, there will be a Latin test. Hamoa masamat. Hamamas.
Okay, I'm going to have to catch up on the text version of this
stop
later
conjugating.
because I'm still a neo-Luddite.
For the love of God, stop conjugating.
Conjugating. Was I conjugating or declinating?
One of those two.
One of them.
Damn,
and how sad that I know that. Yes, I took Latin in high school.
Andy, Corey, did you guys come up with any names, or
Nothing.
are you just laughing at us because we're?
Yeah, the most creative we came up with was Republitarians Unite.
Oh,
Ooh, how about Bootstrap Illuminati?
Okay. Good, because I wanted to be taken seriously.
Oh, yes. I mean.
Oh yeah, like hot air is very serious.
I think it is.
Well, it is, but it isn't. At the same time, it's tongue-in-cheek. You know, let people know that we're not taking ourselves too seriously.
But you know what? The more I think about the refinery, the more I like it, because the refinery is just like, it's us, and it's the thing we do, and it's short, and it's simple, and it's kind of just tossed out there. It's the refinery.
And it's kind of dirty. It's kind of dirty because it just keeps kicking, it keeps belching flame into the air.
Exactly. And it's up yours, you green weenies. Refinery, man.
Also,
I second the refinery.
Fossil fuels. And I think it makes sense to have blue bonnets and a derrick and perhaps a Texas flag. Not that I'm biased in favor of my state or anything, but
I don't think we have a derrick.
Refining the cultural petroleum, or refining the cultural oil.
and Colorado is also makes good money off of, doesn't really have that many refineries in Colorado, but
But we're pulling oil out of the ground like crazy.
yeah, no kidding. And
Especially in the South.
you know what? Energy is the future. Just as children are but children are our future, so
Messaging should be energizing.
there you go.
I'm happy with the refinery.
I'm
Not
happy with the
just because I
refinery.
came up with it.
Fishy,
I'm all for it.
you for it? You're good? Corey and Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, we're fine with it.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, we are the refinery. Done! Okay, that's it.
Staff decisions, rock and roll.
Bye. See y'all next week.
Now we
Oh,
need
no,
to
wait.
now we need to argue over what font to use for our graphic, all of that stuff.
Oh, just leave that up to Stryker and let it be.
Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking that we have a name, we roll with it, and graphics come along when they do. I'm not going to worry about that too much.
Yes, never let a graphic come between content and the people or something.
Exactly. We got a name. That's enough. So, how about that Eric Cantor?
Wow.
I think that rocked.
I'm cool with it.
Totally
Yeah.
was not on my radar. Totally unexpected, and apparently unexpected for an awful lot of people.
Well, and that is a perfect shaming. That is the perfect shaming that he is the only establishment Republican that was out primaried by a Tea Party candidate.
And he outspent the guy by like 1,000,000 to 1. It was crazy.
Exactly.
How did this happen?
Immigration. That was overwhelmingly the top issue. I just think it's incredible that Eric Cantor just lost. He's the first guy to lose a major primary that no one across the entire nation knew was occurring. I had
Right.
no idea they had a primary. I had no clue that he was in a primary fight.
I had Fox News on, because I will turn it on when there's breaking news. I had Fox News on, and Megan was, she was introducing the people in the office. She said, and these are all the people who came when we called, because we didn't have a group of people ready to analyze this primary. We've had to call you guys in. And Brett Hume was like, well, I was here. I was planning on being here. And Megan's like, yeah, but everybody else.
Well, the thing is that the guy who won had to delay a long time to make his speech because
He was probably writing it.
he had only prepared a losing speech. And I'm not kidding. And so so he wasn't ready to do a speech. It's crazy. It's insane. He won by 11 points. He killed him.
It was 11 points.
Yeah, 11.2.
Well, and
So it was a massive defeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's massive.
Against a guy he outspent. He outraised him by, what was it, like
I've seen 14 to 1, 30 to 1.
26 to 1. He outraised him. 26 to 1 he outraised him.
Wow.
And spent tons of it. And people were so angry because of the immigration stories.
And consider that 200,000, less than $250,000 is what Brat raised. And
Yeah,
if you're talking 14 to 1, think of how big that is.
that is big.
Yeah.
That is big. And there were local grassroots groups that were donating as well. But the big Tea Party organizations didn't get involved in this race. They didn't waste their time.
What a shock! What a shock that Big Tea Party didn't do anything.
Right.
I am completely blown away that Big Tea
Right.
Party did nothing. I hate to be that guy.
Be
But-
that guy.
But you are that guy.
I am that guy. Being from New Jersey, I'm worried. I'm worried because I'm not sure. Eric Cantor, there's pretty much no doubt that Eric Cantor was going to win the election. I know it's a heavily gerrymandered district. I know that it shouldn't be close. For all intents and purposes, this should not be a close race. Is there any chance that Mr. Bratt is going to sink in the general. Is
Yes.
that a possibility?
Yes, because Cantor won by 17, and Brad is probably not going to play nearly as well in the general. I think Brad will win, but is there a chance he could lose? Yes, there is. If this was that divisive, if there are enough Cantor supporters who are angry, then Brad will lose. I don't think it'll happen, but it's possible.
Right.
Well,
So
and there,
that's why I don't want to go out there and be in the streets partying and doing stuff because uh, while it's nice that we don't have that we won't have the same whatever it was that he was. Uh, I can't think of his a
Wasn't he the
majority leader.
whip?
No, he was majority leader.
House Majority Leader,
House
yes.
majority leader. He was majority leader. So it'll be nice that we won't have the same guy at House majority leader anymore. But I don't really know that the trade-off of okay, we get a new House Majority Leader, maybe Darrell Issa, maybe who knows, maybe we get somebody really good, Trey Gowdy, but with that also, I don't know that is worth losing a seat. So I'm very very cautious about this. I want Bratt to win, and I think that we need to focus more on that race, but it's going to be really tough if the animosity between the Cantor and the Bratt camp are if that's really high, I'm worried about that race.
I mean,
If I may, may I interject a small anecdotal tale?
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to travel down to Birmingham, Alabama, not too long ago, and while I was killing time for a day, ended up sitting in a bar next to a very elderly, nearly retired civil rights attorney in Birmingham, Alabama. He was a white guy, not a black guy, in Birmingham, civil rights, and we started talking politics. We exchanged cards. We're talking to this day, because we are totally on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but we're having great conversation. And the one thing that he asked me is, who does the Republican Party have that they can throw up in a presidential election or a senatorial election that can defeat a single Democrat? And I looked at him, and for a moment I was actually at a loss. But then I thought about it. It's like, okay, presidential election, senatorial, House seats. Okay, you are looking at things in a bar room, kind of let me throw you off your game respect. In House seats, there are maybe not so many in play because I think a lot of them are assumed to go back to their original seats. And I'm thinking just specifically as to Michelle Bachmann's seat in the CD6 in Minnesota. It's pretty safe that Emmer's going to get that. Republicans going to take CD6. Bachmann's stepping out. Emmer's stepping in. He couldn't take governor. He couldn't take senator. A number of failed elections, but any Democrat that goes up in CD6 is not going to win. Just ain't going to happen. It's the most red district in Minnesota. Now, let's look to a national level. Senate seats. Okay. I'm not as well versed in the Senate seats. I think Franken may actually have a viable competitor. I don't know how well that's going to go over. Definitely won't win in the urban areas. May probably win in rural areas. because of a big mining issue going on where Franken has just told union interests to fuck off.
I actually think Franken would be vulnerable, quite honestly, if his competitor. Look, Franken didn't win by big before. He's been an embarrassment on many levels, and if he
right, and he has been voting against labor interests, not only labor interests, but the medical device industry, which is the #1 industry in Minnesota outside of state or federal government. So he's pissed off of a lot of employees.
Well, Sean, are you talking about like viable candidates on our side for purple? You more like purple Senate seats or whatever? Because nationally, I think we actually have a much deeper bench going for the presidential in 2016 than they do. Look, Hillary's their top one, and she's looking horrible right now.
Well, and the word of the day is that we have nobody. I think Scott Walker is the dark horse.
Oh no. Rand
Oh,
Paul.
why not? Why not? He has successfully turned around Wisconsin.
No, I love him. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a fan. But what I'm saying is, I got to tell you, I'm from Wisconsin. The guy is a lousy debater. He's not a good speaker. He's not charismatic. Outside, and even in Wisconsin, by the way, his polls, he's struggling. He may not win. He'll win re-election, but it's going to be by a.
But he's a pugilist. He knows where to hit where it counts.
Yeah. He has no chance on a national level. Let me tell you. I mean, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. No charisma whatsoever. He would be.
So who does have a chance? Who does have a chance against Hillary? Which I personally don't think Hillary's going to run. I think she's going to be knocked out in the primaries.
I think if we were to have a ticket with Rand Paul and either Bobby Jindal or, what's his name, who a lot of people are trying to get to run now. Ben Carson or somebody like that as his vice, I don't think Hillary would have a chance. Hillary in a debate.
I still think we're gonna pull a governor. We're gonna pull a governor.
It's possible, but in that case, why not a Jindal? IQ about 185, incredibly accomplished. Look, and he's not the only one.
Incredibly geeky.
Yeah, but people are kind of liking the nerdy thing right now. I think they might go for that.
If those man shorts ever take off in Manhattan, then Jindal has a chance.
They're coming back. Look, I'm just saying, we got a deep bench, man. We've got a very deep bench. I don't believe.
So, well, who's the deep bench? Because I found myself at a loss in Alabama, one of the reddest of states.
You mean
and who do we prop up?
Well, we got Susana Martinez in New Mexico, who is a governor and is really, really, really good. She's impressive.
Nobody's ever heard of.
Which is fine.
Which is fine. There weirder things have happened. We have Rand Paul, who has built a hell of a following.
Who is riding on the disparate coattails of his crazy-ass dad.
No, he's not riding. He's riding no coattails.
Well, but he will be painted with the coattails of his crazy-ass dad.
There is no such thing as a perfect candidate. Every single one of them is going to have serious deep flaws that we have to help them overcome. And, I mean, I think right now the focus has to be on the awesome primaries, and then, as JD is saying, help get Bart or Bert or whatever his name, Brad or whatever his name is, the non-canter guy, help make sure that he wins in November. And there are quite a few opportunities in the Senate for us to pick up seats. And I think focusing on that and strengthening the, I'm doing air quotes around it, strengthening the Tea Party caucus in both the House and the Senate in November, so that for the next 2 years we can have a stronger message and some better, hopefully better chances at stopping bad legislation. I don't even dream of good legislation happening.
Well, I would
like
to think, because most of national politics are centered around Texas right now, that somebody, somewhere, somehow, some way, would like to throw a little bit of attention about throwing Al Franken out of office. Minnesota is on nobody's radar. We are not only flyover country, we are political flyover country, but yet we still have 2 Senate seats, one of which is up for grabs right now.
Well, who's the Republican candidate?
I don't know.
See, that's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
That's a problem. You're tuned into politics in Minnesota, and you don't know the guy that's running against Al Franken. So if you don't know
no,
who he
because
is right now,
I don't know how the primaries shook out. We had a
Right.
caucus, we had a primary. I haven't gotten word yet who challenged who and how that shook out. And there's a debate between the Republican Party, the Independence Party. There's just this giant mess going on in our particular caucus and primary system that nobody knows what the hell is going on and who is even challenging for governor right now, because there's this dark horse going up for the challenging the endorsed candidate for governor to go up against Mark Dayton. That hey, what? I think islands should be made out of sugar and the water should be made out of gummy.
okay.
It's such a confusing process.
Well, but somebody understands it, and basically the fact is that in mid-June, if there isn't a very famous, at least all of the political people in Minnesota who are on the right know who the guy is who's trying to kick Franken off the top of the hill. If that person isn't well known to everybody, and if you're not on board with helping him get elected, it's not going to happen. So there are
6
other
candidates,
races that are
they're
worth
all divided. 6 candidates, they're all divided.
Mike
and
McFadden, by the way, is the guy who got the party endorsement. But
when is the Minnesota primary?
It was about a week ago.
it already happened, but that doesn't. It's weird apparently up there in Minnesota, which is not shocking. So
then there are deeper problems than
it was a state.
Can somebody knock Franken off? The idea has to be, can the Republicans get their shit together enough to find somebody to knock him off?
Yes, it was a state Republican state convention. I don't know if they have a primary or if they don't have a primary, but it says May 30th to 31st.
The Republican primary happened at the state convention.
Right, and at the state
in
convention,
Rochester last week.
Yes, and at the state convention, the guy that came out of it with the endorsement was McFadden, Mike McFadden, who is a financial executive of some sort. Again, I don't know very much about that race, and it apparently seems like nobody does. It's a mystery.
And those who did,
like many things in Minnesota,
those who lost, grabbed their ball, went home, and took their followers with them, and sought out the Independence Party endorsement even after the Independence Party convention.
And that's a problem. And that's where, in looking at Eric Cantor's concession speech, it seemed like possibly he was going to be a grown-up and get behind this guy and make sure that this guy wins and do the right thing for conservatives and Republicans, knowing that he can afford to, because he's going to have a 7-figure job as a consultant the day after, the day after tomorrow. As long as the guy knows he's going to get rich from this, he can afford to back this Bart guy, Brett, whatever his name is. I should look that up because Brat.
Yes, Brat.
Okay, so he can afford to back Brat, and that's where the Mississippi race is such a scary one to me right now. We've got another 2 weeks to get McDaniel or Cochran in the runoff, and that's why I personally donated to the McDaniel campaign, and I've been posting about it on the CU. I would like to get people interested in helping pull Chris McDaniel over the line to victory in the runoff, and then after that, it's going to be a hard slog to November to get him to win, because Thad Cochran is running scorched earth. And he's running, if it's not Thad Cochran, then I want the Democrat to win, because screw you guys.
Really?
And and Mississippi deserves a conservative senator. I mean,
Why must you be such a hater?
Maine doesn't actually deserve a conservative senator. They'll never elect one. But in Mississippi, they're conservative people. They should have a conservative senator. And it seems like Chris McDaniel isn't insane. And the Tea Party people seem to have gathered behind him. So, let's rally and get him there, because I think Chris McDaniel would be a guy to stand with Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and Johans? Who's the other one? Mike Johans? Who's the other guy who hangs with them? The Tea Party guys in the Senate. I think Chris McDaniel.
Utah, yeah.
I think Chris McDaniel could grow the Tea Party caucus, whereas a Thad Cochran would be a Republican, but would not strengthen the whole conservative Republican thing. And
well, the thing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you were speaking.
No, just the thing to do if the if McDonald wins the primary, the runoff, whatever they have going on there, the immediate tactic is to do what the establishment does and say, you've got to get behind the candidate and screech unity at people who are usually the ones screeching unity. So that's always fun.
And that's what I'm hoping Eric Cantor will do behind Bratt. Do the grown-up thing and unify behind the candidate that won. Just like you said, the establishment always tells us when they win a primary that we have to suck it up and rally behind them. Well, you know what? I want to pull McDaniel over the line in 2 weeks from now, and then you're right. Our messaging has to be screeching at them to unify behind the Republican guy and grow the heck up and just do it.
You have to think McDaniel's going to win that.
He's projected to, but Cochran is now trying to look to the Democrats and have Democrats vote in the runoff. And if they didn't vote in their own primary, they can vote in the runoff. And he can basically grow his base, and he can bring in a bunch of Democrats to vote for Cochran, and then they'll vote, against him, or maybe they'll vote for Cochran in the general because Thad Cochran is more of a Democrat than McDaniel would be. I don't know, but it's dirty and it's ugly.
So I gotta ask, not just with you, Leslie, but where does everybody else stand on Rand Paul?
Team Rand.
I haven't made up my mind yet.
Team Rand.
I haven't made up my mind yet. That's 2016, and it's only 2014, so give me time. He and I both need to figure each other out a little bit better.
If I may, my thinking is this. I happen to like a lot of the possible candidates, and he is one of them that I really like. I think our bench going into this is by far the best, deepest, strongest we've ever had. At least in decades. But if you were to ask me, who do I think is the most marketable across the board? Oh, it's Rand Paul. You're talking about a libertarian. You're talking about a libertarian conservative. The Tea Party loves him. The libertarians love him. The
young kids love him.
The young kids love him. The social moderates love him. The anti-war crowd loves him. The pro-war crowd doesn't hate him, like his dad. He has actually successfully distanced himself from his dad. Any conservative you talk to will say, oh, well, he's not his dad. He's not as bad as his dad. He has successfully broken that while keeping the love of his dad's followers. Is he the most sellable? Oh, my gosh. It's not even close. And that's why I say, because when I talk about messaging and conservatism, and that's what I do in all this, I always think of, in terms of candidates or ideas, can I sell this? Could I sell this idea? Can I sell this candidate? With him, if I were still a Democrat, I would be not only terrified, I would be close to absolutely giving up. If I had to put up Hillary against him, I would be an absolute, I would commit myself to heavy alcohol. Because because there's no way.
Well, and
if
I'm
you
going to
look at
say
the
right now,
demographics and how he'd kill
I'm not trying to be cheeky. I'm not trying to be cheeky.
Think about it like
hold
this.
up the logo of the 1914 Chicago Cubs. Rand Paul reminds me of the Chicago Cubs. You're rooting for them. You want them to win.
That's my team.
They're a great team, but it's the 1914 Chicago Cubs.
Sean, in my opinion, the Chicago Cubs on our side would be Ted Cruz. I love the guy. I would be all for the guy. To me, he'd be the ultimate president, and I think he would have absolutely no chance to draw outside the base. And that, to me, he would be the Chicago Cubs. Rand Paul, my goodness, no. I mean,
might be the White Sox that actually won the series.
Yes,
I'll say it's the Cardinals.
That's good. That's good. And one thing that you didn't mention in the litany of people that Rand Paul can appeal to and has actually gone and talked to.
Yep.
More than any other. I mean, we have black Republicans who don't speak in black neighborhoods as much as Rand Paul does.
Right.
I don't see Tim Scott going and talking at traditionally black colleges and getting claps, getting applause from people. But you see that with Rand Paul. Rand Paul went to Berkeley and he got applause. He went to Berkeley and he got standing ovations for some of the stuff that he said.
Can I throw something else in, JD? Can I throw something else in?
You're tagged in.
Just kind of go with you here. He also has shown by far and away the most politically astute strategizing. He's also shown the most unifying approach. This guy actually has endorsed some establishment candidates, like in Maine and places like that. He has made it very clear, look, unlike his dad, totally unlike his dad, I mean 180 degrees away from his dad, he has said, we got to win. We need to be more libertarian because that is where the country is and because I believe in those values. But we have to win. Not winning is not acceptable, and nobody has been reaching out across the board like he has.
Well, and if I may, okay, this not only trying to reach the question that was posed to me earlier, how to reach a unified audience, how to draw in and brand a unified message. How do we draw in and endorse a set or an individual candidate that can speak across the board? I think Rand Paul would be one of them.
Yeah, he would. And he's the kind of guy who would be strategic enough to also know he had better not put a white man on the ticket with him. Sorry, but I got to say that.
Well, no, put in Alan West. Put in Alan West on the ticket with him.
Well, then again,
because no matter how much Alan West says he doesn't want to be on a major political party ticket, sure as fuck he does.
Well, he's fantastic, but don't get me wrong. Again, Alan West would suffer from the Ted Cruz thing. How well could you sell him across the board? If you go with somebody like Bobby Jindal, what's her name from Martinez, or somebody like that, you see, Rand Paul strikes.
Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah, Condoleezza Rice. Although
Condi's not going to run.
He won't do it. But but Rand Paul strikes me as so much more astute. You know what I mean? He's already got the Tea Party. So he would probably try to do something that, like Jindal or somebody who has more of a reach.
Before we move on from the topic of Rand Paul, I do think that one last bit to add to the stuff that makes him qualified, makes him a good dude. He's a team player. Think of how many races that he's helped and gone to and brought relevance to. So he's really been good about that. Not just establishment, not just Tea Party. He's been out, done the rounds. So I actually have a topic that I'm kind of it's kind of pressing because
oh, just get to it, bitch.
Yeah. So we have a situation here in New Jersey. I interviewed two of the candidates that were running in the Republican primary. Obviously, we know this. Neither of them won. So now we have Jeff Bell, and I will be talking to him sometime in the near future. I had talked with them. There was some idea that was going to be today or tomorrow, but I think that might get pushed off a little bit further in the future. But that being the case, I think that we need to. I would love to revisit a little bit the questions list that we have. Does anything need to change going to a general election? Are there questions that we need to take out? Questions that we need to switch or anything like that? Now that we're talking about an actual Senate candidate.
We first ask you just what's he like? What's your impression?
He's a 70-year-old man.
Really?
Yes. He was in the Reagan administration. He ran for Senate 30 years ago here in New Jersey. He had since moved from the state to Virginia, where he was involved in a bunch of different Republican groups, Foundation for Restoring American Values or something like that.
First fluff question. If you get him on microphone, is how have you seen the political climate change over the course of the last 40 years?
But I don't care. I don't care, and I don't think any of the voters care.
But the audience cares. The audience cares. Because that's an entree that they do actually care about, and that they think that they know about, is that, things were so much divisive before, and no, they're so less divisive now. No, bullshit.
Okay.
Maybe status of the Republican Party in New Jersey.
I would definitely like to ask that question. That question's going in. The status of the Republican Party.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to, or didn't take the chance. I have as much time as everybody else does. I just didn't use it wisely. I didn't take the time to look through the questions and look at modifying them for the general rather than for primaries like we had done them before. There's probably not, since you didn't interview him before, there's probably not too many tweaks that need to be made,
right,
other than the focus. The focus and the emphasis being, how would you recommend a Republican go after how does a good Republican go after a really strong Democrat candidate?
Yeah.
What does the Republican Party in New Jersey do? And I think we have to be upfront with them. We being you, be upfront with them. Dude, you're not going to win. You know that. What do you hope? What are you legitimately hoping to achieve on behalf of the Republican Party?
That's always the best strategy, to look at somebody and say,
I don't know how you do that, but I mean, it seems delusional to have an interview with him. Hey, you really can defeat Cory Booker. I mean, that's like.
Well, and I don't think that you come across saying, this is a cheerleading interview. You're getting to the meat of it. But I would caution, first of all, against any kind of imposing that narrative on the interview of, dude, what the hell? You can't win.
Right.
I would not put that anywhere in the universe of questions or responses. And secondly, I would. Hang on. Let me get this. No, let me get through the second part out.
Okay.
I think the second thing that you have to tread carefully on, and in New Jersey it's especially so, if you are simultaneously going to be working on party building and asking this guy what he thinks about the state of the party itself and it is obviously in such disarray you've been proving, I would walk that line very carefully so that you are not making an enemy out of people that you don't need to make enemies out of.
Yes, that is a very, very, very good point. We don't want to make the situation worse than it already is, and it's pretty bad. It's not that they hate him, and that's the thing. They don't. The New Jersey Republican Party doesn't hate Jeff Bell. It's just that the New Jersey Republican Party only likes Chris Christie. That's the situation. He's the only candidate that the party cares about statewide. When he came in 2009, anything that was team player kind of sentiment went away. It was all Chris Christie's going to fix it. We're putting all of our money on him, and he's going to fix it. And he fixed it pretty good for Chris Christie.
Right.
So other than that, it's been kind of a travesty.
You know, if I may, really quick.
The only point that I was trying to make is that in interview lead up, try to give a couple soft sell, T-ball, comment kind of opportunities, and provide the guy an opportunity to seem personable. And then lead up to, very slowly, into the hard questions. Maybe, sorta, kinda.
Well, no, that's great. Can I ask something?
Please.
Okay, well, look, Chris Christie has and you can tell me if it's different from a national scene. You know, not living in the state. From what I've seen of Chris Christie, while he takes some left-wing stances, I've never seen him distance himself from the Republican Party. In other words, he does a pretty good job. Granted, it's about Chris Christie, but he seems to do a pretty good job of selling the Republican Party in New Jersey. He really does, from what I've seen. But now that's from a national scene. What I would want to ask this guy is, look, you know, you're in a heavily Democrat state. Being a Republican, you know, that's an anchor. If you can't run from that. How are you going to defend? You know, how are you going to defend us? How are you going to not defend? How are you going to sell us to your state? How are you going to show your state that we're the good guys?
Thankfully, that question is on the on the list. It's you know that's a mainstay from the primary season. Really, my only question are, you know, we're removing some questions here. We're getting rid of you know, why should we pick you instead of your competitors? That gets mixed in with the Cory Booker situation. There are a bunch of Cory Booker questions that we have here. What does conservatism mean to you? All that stuff can still stay in there, but we do need to focus more on addressing the independent, on addressing the middle voter. So, what are more middle voter questions that we want to incorporate here? And I'm not sure how I want to do this because he has some positions that he holds. He's not for legalizing marijuana. He is a family, you know, he's the traditional family values type guy, and he's also against online gambling, which means that he probably can get some money from the casinos and those lobbies in the state, because, you know, if you are doing online gambling, then that's
that's protecting the casinos. Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. At that point, ask him why, if he is against online gambling, how does he appeal to the libertarian aspect?
I'm not going to ask that because I'd rather not bring it up. I'd rather not have it.
That's where I was going, is if the object here is to give him the chance to sell himself rather than you know, take him down in a hard-hitting interview, which he will get, and plenty of that from the media proper, then I would probably tend to focus less on issues, specifically issues that, you know, he doesn't really poll test with us well. but I would steer away from those and talk strategy in those places instead, because there's a great divide. There's a digital divide between him and Booker's campaigns. Obviously, the way that this guy won was a mail campaign, through reaching.
Well, why not make him think?
People that
Why
were,
not make him think?
No, there's nothing wrong with that, but the point is not to back the guy into a corner with difficult questions that he won't be able to answer well. The point is to give him other places that he can show himself to the best advantage, that he's a thinker, that he's somebody that is an acceptable candidate. You don't want to tank the guy out of the box.
Maybe pre-interview with a staffer.
I've talked with the staff. I know what to get around with, and I am going to be talking with Jeff off air before the thing gets filmed. So it should be fine. I just was.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is to let him talk about things that he's not going to be able to talk about with the other media outlets that are going to be interviewing him.
Exactly.
It's not so much that we want to sell him and have it be a friendly interview. It's to get to different aspects of who he is and what he plans to do and how he plans to do it, and ask those different kinds of questions. And like Fishy's saying, obviously you were doing a mail campaign, and Corey is very digital. Do you think that, are you going to continue to do that, or are you going to try to use some of Corey's tactics, or are you going totally different because that's going to be more successful? Those kinds of questions.
Talking about building up a ground game is very. I think that's an important question. I think needs to be asked, and
right.
That's something that he, I'm sure, can talk about. And this is the thing. We're not in the vetting stage for this candidate. The candidate is there. He's
right.
the guy, and whatever it is, he's the army that we have. And I don't think that he's going to win the race, no. But I do think that we can make Cory Booker spend money. That's the thing that I care about. I care about Cory Booker overextending against a guy who if this is a token campaign, if this is a guy who just does nothing and lets Cory just waltz his way in, that sucks. That's giving up, and that's not what I want to do, and it doesn't help the New Jersey Republican Party at all. It doesn't, and by Republican Party I mean me. I mean the people of the New Jersey Republican Party, not the higher ups, not the people in Trenton. I'm talking about the grassroots groups. I'm talking about the county people, all of those guys.
Well, in the down ballot races, if we can get
exactly.
Because a statewide race is what gets the energy, it's what gets people to the polls.
Yes.
People don't go to the polls for the county judge. But if the county judge is a Republican instead of a Democrat, that matters to people's daily lives. They just don't know it until after they screw it up. And if we have a New Jersey Senate candidate who isn't driving people to the polls, then the guys who are going to the polls to support Cory Booker because their union makes them do it, they're going to vote straight ticket Democrat, and the Democrat judges and the Democrat city council people are going to win where perhaps maybe they didn't need to.
That's right, and there are a bunch of important down ballot races. So that's something to go on to the list. I know, Corey, you said that you have a question in the chat there.
This is Andy.
Sorry, Andy.
No, that's okay. Look, I agree. We don't want to batter the guy with a big negative thing. On the other hand, I do want to prep him a little bit because we want, he's got to sell what he's doing.
Right.
So here's my question, if I could. I would like to ask him about Christie's success. Okay, and say, look, we've got somebody. There's a Republican who has successfully won statewide office repeatedly here. Why do you think Chris Christie has succeeded so much? Now, you're obviously different, and in some ways, and the same in some others. How do you think your similarities might play? How would your differences play? What would you, and ask him what his strategy would be with that, and that could lead into how he would deal with some of his areas where he may not sell as well.
Great
I
question.
like that.
What do you think of that?
I love that. That's something definitely to
That's
ask. Sean?
good. Sean?
Sean, you there?
That was it.
Okay, I gotta ask. I gotta ask. If you have no faith in this guy winning, if you have no faith in this guy winning, which you have admitted to, why would you not press issues and maybe take that pressing of issues and augment the down ballot candidates into allowing them to latch onto those issues to differentiate themselves and separate themselves from party line candidates and rhinos and any and every other possible uh, candidate that won't win. Why? Because they're squishy.
No,
And maybe
it's
may
not because it's
not be
squishy though.
taking their candidacy seriously in going up against a Cory Booker or
Here's why.
whoever the
Here's why
local school board candidate is. Why not press the actual solid issues that the base wants to see pressed?
because the base in New Jersey is not the base of the Tea Party. That's the first
Well,
thing.
it's not the base in Minnesota either.
Right. But the second thing that I want to address is the fact that if the guy at the top of the ticket sinks, then the guys down ballot sink, and it's not something that I want to deal with. I've had great experiences talking with the guys who lost in the Senate primary. Rich and Brian have been absolutely invaluable when it comes to building the party. They're going out. They were just at the Monmouth County convention. They were participating in getting getting a new chair elected there. They're getting the New Jersey GOP is in shambles, and the only thing that we have that is holding us together as a party are candidates, and that's
Well, but
why
how are
I
they
don't
doing
want
at the county fair and pancake dinner level?
terrible, terrible.
Well, then maybe that's where the augmentation needs to be. Is forget the party line candidate that is on the top of the ticket and work more stridently and ardently on the county fair and pancake dinner level.
We're doing that, but if we have no cohesion, then there are no county level pancake dinners. In my county, there are no county level pancake dinners. We don't do that stuff because of how dormant the party is. But I'm getting some support from these guys who work former candidates. I'm getting some of that weight from them. The guys who are in the Bell campaign, all those guys, going forward, those connections going forward, the candidate and his desire to help the party grow, those are big things. So I think that it is a misstep. It is a short-sighted effort to take down, Jeff Bell because we disagree on a few issues. I think it's much better for the party as a whole, and for the county parties individually, all of that stuff. If we have a candidate who can compete, if not win.
Right. I think at this point, now that the primary is over, we're in New Jersey is in unify and make the best, bring the best turnout that we can statewide,
Yes.
because then everybody succeeds. Is there a way, and Andy, I'm sure you can phrase this or figure out where the question is, but I'm thinking, based on what you were just saying, JD, about Rich and Brian being so supportive and working and wanting to continue working rather than go on vacation after they lost their primary, is there a question that you can get in there with Jeff about how he wants to work with Rich and Brian, or if he's going to, or what they can do, how they can be most helpful to him, or whatever? And I'm about to make another cup of tea, so I'm going to mute myself here.
Okay. I think that's a question to ask. Although I don't think I'll get into specifics about candidates, former candidates, and how they're interacting with the campaign. I think that just talking about his interactions in the party and who the fact that he is getting help and that he's talking to a lot of people within the party. I think that's something to talk about, and I would love to hear about his discussions with party leaders across the state. So that I will put on the list of questions. Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I gotta duck out.
All right, have a good one, Sean.
Hey, just wanted to touch
great
base.
hearing you.
It's been too long. Too much crap going on this end. Toes are still in the water. I shall return. I am still here.
Just remember, and I didn't reprimand you this time, these things are PG-13, not R. I said the word shit, and I kind of allow the word shit to go, but the F word, dude, don't do that. Language rules, man. Language.
I will allow you to reprimand me once you achieve Mother Teresa status.
We don't, since this is broadcast live, we don't like to have the F word. That's R-rated, man.
Reprimand taken. Reprimand taken. I was a little emotional.
I know.
A little clamped.
You were Sean being Sean.
Peace out. I got to close up the shop and pay attention to my wife now.
Okay,
right,
cool.
Have a good one, man.
Later, dude.
Take care.
Crazy.
So I don't have any further. I think that we pretty much got a lot out of the new questions, stuff that need to be replaced and redone, and the notes have been updated to reflect that over here. So I'll have something up and put into the Google Drive or somewhere.
Or somewhere, put it, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, stuff will be done. So,
Okay, cool.
So that was that's taken care of. So we accomplished two things, two of our pieces of business we accomplished already.
Oh my
Yeah. Oh my God. And okay, and now to circle back to Andy's question, I'm assuming it was Andy.
Yes.
About, do I think the Cantor defeat, I'm going to read this out loud because we're broadcasting too. Do you think the Cantor defeat presents a big, okay, somebody else read it because I don't have my glasses on.
Do you think the Cantor defeat presents a big warning for moderate conservatives in conservative districts? Could these districts be where a real party shift occurs? Because I was really disappointed when McCain won his primary last time around. Were you surprised he didn't back him in his speech?
Yeah, that was later, but yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
I was also a little surprised that Cantor didn't show some unity in his speech. Now, I understand he's shocked, but
yeah,
a little surprised by, and I assume it'll be coming. If nothing else, he's always been classy.
Yeah, I was trying to read into it because I want to. Not really so much because he said anything about unity. I was trying to read the tea leaves and say, that could be interpreted as unity, and that would make me happy if I could. So I'm gonna. And I think I don't know that there's any way to overstate the importance of this victory tonight that Brat had, and it's on multiple levels. I think it's important from the standpoint of campaigns the morning of the election who think they're ahead 62-28 are kind of wrong, because that's what Cantor's staff actually told him this morning. Oh man, you got this, dude. You're 62-28. And I don't know that that's the same case on national races, but on a House race, which is not at all like a statewide race or a Senate race, but on this House race, they did not have the feel for the electorate at all. Not the consultants, not his campaign staff. They didn't expect it, and neither did anybody in the news, neither did the media. To have so I think there's a lot of campaigns that should be rethinking some of the assumptions that they've got. Campaign all the way till the end. You don't take your victory for granted. And I'm hoping that establishment guys do get the fear Jesus put in them and say, primarily for our sake right now, okay, amnesty is not going to be discussed in 2014. We must just kick that can down the road again.
Well, yeah, well, I see a lot of good here. Now, I do have concerns because I do think this throws this seat into open territory. I think we'll still win it, but I do think it endangers it. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't believe this guy will play even though it's a solid seat, I don't think he'll play as well as Cantor would have. That said, I think he'll still win it, and I'm very happy about this. To me, I've always kind of felt an ideal would be we need in all the purple districts to have the establishment guys winning, unless you have a good Tea Party guy who can play. But I'm a Tea Party guy, okay? And in these red districts, like I was furious when McCain won in Arizona. The guy he beat in that primary would have won Arizona as well, and we would have had a much better senator.
Right.
Okay. So do you see what I'm saying? I'm seeing where maybe the Tea Party is realizing, because a number of these quote-unquote establishment guys that won in the purple districts, I think had some Tea Party support. I think people are starting to realize, hey, in the red districts, let's make our hay there and get and make a shift there. But in the purple districts, let's quit killing ourselves as much as we have been.
Right. Trying to be
Are we really getting
pragmatic or something.
I hope so, but I have my doubts. I think.
Me too.
I think. I think. I think that one of the things that we do, and it's not just us, but it's pretty much everyone out there, paints with such a broad brush when it comes to the Tea Party and its state, its status. We talk about the Tea Party as a monolithic thing, when in fact that's not the case. It's a bunch of very, very, very small groups in local areas. You have the larger groups, but I would hesitate to even call them Tea Party, because once you get to a certain level of bigness, I think it throws things off.
Yeah, you're just a political group that's kind of conservative.
Right, but I think that when you're talking about Tea Party situations, it is very much a place by place, geographically. Apparently in this district in Virginia, it was stronger than it was in in Arizona, the
statewide
Arizona, when it comes to electing John McCain. I think that it fluctuates and it goes by state. So
and that's the difference between a House race and a Senate race, because the House race is a smaller district that's got and Cantor's district is a red district.
Can you guys?
So it's appropriate for it to go more conservative, but then you have, and it's going to be a harder thing in Mississippi because it is a statewide race, and you have to win everywhere rather than just your district. And Arizona, for McCain, Senate races are statewide, and it's a harder thing to get even incrementally better, even though Arizona should have kicked McCain to the curb, and Lindsey Graham should have drawn a stronger competitor so that he didn't get a free pass.
Well, can I ask you guys something? Just historically, in the last 10 years, has a single legitimately purple state or district been won by a Tea Party candidate, by a strong red candidate? I'm sure there are some, but there's so few. All I see.
Could you repeat the question?
Do you know of a single purple state or purple district where a solid Tea Party candidate has done anything but go down in flames and cost us a seat? Not just the obvious examples like Ken Buck in Colorado or what's her name in Delaware. Those are obvious, but there were more than that.
Richard Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Yeah, but I mean, which ones have won where you had a Tea Party conservative win in a purple district or state?
I can't think of a single one.
Well, shouldn't that tell people something? Don't you have the needle first. As I always tell people, what's wrong with Sarah Palin? Nothing. The problem's not Sarah Palin. The problem is you haven't moved the needle in your city, state, or district to elect a Sarah Palin. Don't blame
Right.
her, but don't put her up to be a sacrificial lamb. You got to spend the time moving the needle in that state first, then you can put up Sarah Palin's. Until then, you better not. Sorry, I'm just talking. Go ahead. I'm done.
No, I think you're right. I think you're completely.
And I think maybe with a little bit of the maturing of the Tea Party and the kind of the integration of the Tea Party into the rest of the Republican Party that has been going on, I think there's been some maturity along those lines where people are saying, okay, now we need to really look at it, and in red areas we can go for the Tea Party guy, and in purple areas we need to make sure that it stays Republican and turn it red if we can, but don't risk it by going with the crazy Tea Party guy. I think there's been some of that. I mean, you're still going to have the people really thinking they should put all of their effort into getting Matt Bevin to knock Mitch McConnell off. There are the fantasists who think that can happen, but you didn't see a whole lot of effort put into that.
Well, and
Because-
mhm.
Okay.
No, I'm sitting here thinking about this, and I think that too often what we're seeing is that people are perfectly happy to run the losers because that guy is going to be the guy with my principles, and I don't want to sell out. So I'm going to back the loser, and I'm going to make things difficult. And we're not thinking in terms of strategy, strategically picking people to challenge, strategically picking races to get behind on the Tea Party side versus establishment side, if you'd like to put it in that metric. Because so many people are new to the process that are labeled Tea Party, and the learning curve is, not quite there yet. There's a use for some establishment guys, and I think Andy's analysis is exactly spot on as far as what we need to do and where we need to put the focus and the energy on backing more liberty-oriented, more Tea Party-oriented candidates. But it's all a matter of long game. And right now, everybody's lurching again, like Republicans always do, from election to election.
Right. And that's so frustrating.
It seems like we suck at blackjack. That's one of our problems, is
Yes.
that we don't have any idea when we need to split. We don't know, when we need to take it. There's so much going on there that's a problem that we've constantly had. We don't know. We aren't using game theory in our political campaigns. We're using for people, for an ideology that is so not based in emotion, so based in reality. We tend to go about our politics in a very emotional way. We don't use that game theory, which is what the Democrats do, and they're very good at it. They're very good at analytics. They're very good at running the right candidate. They're very good at that stuff. So, that's definitely something
like
we need to work on.
It's just like we're business people and small business people and entrepreneurs, and we understand all of those concepts, but we can't market our own ideas. Are you kidding me? We
No.
don't have any good advertising people on our payroll. What?
It makes
We
no
don't have
sense.
to wait. Wait. Why are we're so smart in the real world, but then we get to politics and we go all stupid? It's like huh?
That's exactly what we do.
And because there are so many people, there's still, okay, and this kind of ties into some of what was discussed at Texas Online. We Republicans seem to think that politics is different from real life. Whereas and we think that culture and pop culture is different from politics. Whereas Democrats kind of see it all as being part of the same thing. Their politics filters into everything they do. They don't really separate politics from business, from pop culture. They see it all as the organizing structure of society. And we, for all of our smarts, don't actually live the understanding that pop culture is society's entertainment. Politics is society's rules. Business is society's daily bread. But it's all the structure of society and how society works. It's just three different legs of the same stool. And we live it as if it's three totally different things.
I think both sides get exactly what they want. We want to create.
I knew as soon as I said the word stool, somebody was going to start giggling. And it's not surprising that it was JD.
By the way, at some point I have to share the funniest comment that was made in the meeting that I was at on yesterday. But
okay, share now. We're laughing.
Well, but first, really quick on what you're saying. Both sides get exactly what they want. Conservatives want to create success in the real world. Liberals only want to beat conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
All liberals care about is taking from somebody else. You do that through defeating them in that venue. Conservatives only care about creating. They don't care about taking it from others. They care about creating more and more success. Well, in politics, it's all about taking from the other. It's all about getting more than they have. That's what politics is. In the free market, it's not about getting more than they have. It's about doing more of what you have. And that's the whole idea. Both sides get exactly what they want. They want to win. We want to,
provide value for everybody and
provide value for everyone. By the way, though, the funniest line, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. You know who the log cabin Republicans are, right?
They're the gays.
Yeah, the gay Republicans. Well, I was in the second Monday of every month. I go, or second or third Monday, it moves around. I go to the center-right coalition meeting here in Colorado. And it's fun. It's a fun group. We get together, and there's a bunch of us in there. And you got hardline Tea Partiers, and you got libertarians, and the log cabin Republicans actually have been running a series of ads here on oil and gas, on fracking,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really well done. And they're going after a guy named Jared Polis, who is I'm getting to the punchline, almost there, who is an incredibly wealthy gay Democrat who has he's part of the reason Colorado went blue.
What do I know that name from? Just from Colorado?
The Blueprint, maybe?
Blueprint for Colorado. And Jared Polis is a gay man who has poured millions into this state and has turned it blue. And the log cabin Republicans put out a very good radio ad, which had somebody sounding like Robin Leach, talking about the lifestyles of the rich and shameless and all this kind of stuff, and how he's so rich he can be disconnected from the costs that all his green energy plans foist on everybody else. Very well done. And so the guy was talking about the ad campaign in the meeting, and he at one point said, "We just thought it was time, that it would make a more impact if we had a gay-on-gay thing going on, a gay-on-gay strategy."
Okay.
And we all just about fell out of our chairs. He realized after he said it. It was hilarious. We were laughing so hard. It was fun to watch heavy right-wing evangelical Christians and libertarians and Tea Party and everybody from every laughing together and laughing their asses off, if I may use that word, at this. It was so funny.
And I can imagine it's one of those things that you just say you're on a roll and you're talking and you're just saying, and the instant the words come out of your mouth, you realize, oh, what have I done?
Got about midway into the next sentence.
Oh, no, I didn't.
People were laughing. No, he enjoyed it too. It was funny.
That's pretty funny.
Wow, that's awesome. That's funny. That's really cool that everybody was laughing at that. That's the key. If some of them were laughing, but some people were laughing, some other people weren't, that could have been awkward.
Hell, I think it's just great they're all in the same room together to hear it.
Well,
absolutely.
Anyway, sorry to derail the entire meeting with that.
Oh yeah, that derailed the entire meeting.
No, because really, Andy, you bring something up here. That's one of the things that I think we are perhaps lax on, is getting those people into the same room together, which is, of course, your specialty here. And I've been thinking for some time, there's activities around in Houston. There's no lack of activities around, but there isn't one that sort of reflects what we're doing here, on this hangout in particular. And I'm trying to figure a way to do that on a regular basis, and I've been kicking that around for months, but haven't really got anywhere yet. Tell me about the origin of this group. Who's in it? How did it start?
It started by a guy named John Caldera, and he is a radio personality, a Republican with strong libertarian leanings. He's JD, basically, and, well, not as pacifist, and but he's basically JD in a lot of ways, politically, and he is probably the second most popular radio personality in Denver to Mike Rosen, who is also a moderate conservative type. Yes, there can only be one. I understand that. Oh, you're totally impassive. You're just a total wuss. I want to kill indiscriminately on the world stage, and you actually back off from my plans. You have no clue what a military is for. The fun it can be. Anyway, so he, I guess he had been crafting and working on this for a couple of years. It took really quite some time to get some of these people to come in the room, and some of the people are nasty. The chairman of the Republican Party has been to a number of these meetings, Ryan Call. And I know Ryan, and it's just, he'll be in the room, and you'll have people in the room wearing Ryan Call with the line through it, anti-Ryan Call buttons, in the room with them and stuff like this. Hey, Tea Party guys, and that's why and just so there's. It's weird because you have this collage of anger in the room, and yet some kind of coming together sentiment. And you have the libertarians always come forth and talk about their candidates, even though everybody knows if we vote for you.
That was the funniest joke the whole time.
Everybody knows if we vote for yours, you do realize there are too many Democrats for us to beat them then. And the libertarians in there despise the Democrats. I mean, they really do. They're not kidding. So it's a very weird group.
That joke about libertarian candidates, funniest thing said the entire night.
We have a lot of them in Colorado.
Well, if it works, then great. It'll be the first.
Every year, Mike Rosen will reel off districts where the Libertarians' percentage of the vote provided the necessary distance for the Democrat to win. And Rosen says that very angrily every year. So.
Well, I notice you say you have a lot of Libertarian candidates, but not a lot of Libertarian elected officials.
Right.
Okay.
That is not centralized in Colorado. That is a bit of a trend in the Libertarian Party for what, the last 30 years, Andy? Is it 30 years?
The funniest thing is too, it's kind of a crazy thing, because if you were to look issue by issue by issue by issue, polling would show Libertarian positions overall win majorities, solid majorities, more than either of the other two major parties. If you go right down the issues, marijuana is strongly, a winning issue for Libertarians. But then you'd say, well, that's also for Democrats. Yeah, but then you turn around and talk about budgeting.
Right.
Libertarians are very conservative. That's also strongly and Democrat. it's like the most popular aspects of the Democratic and Republican parties, if you look at polling, pacifism, the country's war weary right now. The most popular ones have aspects of the two major parties are mostly libertarian beliefs, for the most part. They're hybrids. So it's kind of interesting, and yet they have no mechanism. They have no, because everybody in the Republican Party knows we're going to have to split ourselves up and kill ourselves to join them.
Well, it's not even just that, but in a lot of places, primaries are the general election because whoever can appeal to the base more deeply is going to walk away with the nomination, and so there's no motivation anywhere in those districts with already settled who's going to win. You just have to get through the primary. There's no motivation to be sampling other candidates. They won't get a showing anyway because the people who show up are not their base at all.
Right. Good point.
But that's not to say that I'm completely as dour as I am on the Libertarian Party. I do think that there are some places where, right now there's an election that's going on in my state. It's Frank Pallone is the Democrat. He's a big deal here. He's this is for Congress. He's a jerk. He's awful. No, you don't. So nobody's running against him. He's been in office for, I don't know, almost as long as I've been alive, and nobody's running against him on the Republican side. But the person who is the vice president of the Libertarian Party of New Jersey is running against him. So, I mean, that's better than nothing, right? There's a guy in Texas I read. I actually saw a whole story on Reddit. He came in. He didn't ask me anything. He's the only candidate running in that district as well against a Democrat. There's no Republican filed, and he's running a really interesting campaign because the guy he's running against is he's all of the bad parts of the Republican Party and all of the bad parts of the Democrat Party rolled up into one.
Neat.
So,
well, and it's interesting you say that because there are actually counties in Texas, as red as it is, that have no Republican Party established.
Right.
Wow.
Houston.
Yeah, I probably should have. Houston. I probably should have had his name here and all of that ready to go, but I can find that in a bit and post it somewhere. But that's something that's been in my mind for a while. There are some places where we might see some movement, but it's not going to. It's still best if they come into the Republican Party and we, because Justin Amash, you can call him a libertarian, but he's a Republican. He's a Republican because he wants to win races, and that's what you do. So,
Ron Paul.
Yeah, if you are
how many years was he a Republican congressman?
Yes. If you are a pragmatic libertarian, then you run as a Republican. That's just how it is. Or
Absolutely.
Sometimes you can get away with running as a Democrat, but not often.
And I certainly welcome that because I want the Republican Party to lean more libertarian on many issues. So having libertarians in the Republican Party seems natural and good to me as a thing. And the Libertarian Party itself strikes me as the great example of the people who have terrific ideas, terrific philosophy, terrific concept, and passion. But they are not practical at all. They don't know how to message their way out of a box, and they don't have enough self-awareness or pragmatic approach to realize what we've been doing has not been working. So let's try something different.
Which, by the way, is not a quality you want in an actual elected official either, who is not pragmatic. And having said that, again, that butts up against the whole intellectual debate within the conservative side of the spectrum is we're far more likely to hit each other hard than hit Democrats hard. And that is something that I think as a group we should be messaging against.
We're dancing in the streets because of Eric Cantor. We are literally dancing in the streets. There are people, I've seen it, people partying because Eric Cantor's gone. So
No, Republicans don't dance. Okay.
they don't dance well.
Yeah, they chair dance, they sway back and forth. It's really embarrassing.
Speak for yourselves, white boys.
What is that supposed to mean? What?
Did you know that the Caucasian race became slightly whiter on average when I was born?
I am actually, there's no light in this room.
You're just glowing.
I'm just sitting here and it's just me.
That's good. Back to the libertarians.
So maybe we should be called the whitest refinery, is kind of like a take on the whitest kids, the whitest refinery,
Yeah.
Anglo. Oh my God, that is amazing. That is amazing. That is beautiful.
The neat thing, now you have a code name for these get-togethers.
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
Okay, so it's officially the refinery, but we'll talk about ourselves as the Anglos.
I got so mad during the census because there were all these really cool choices for everybody else, and then there was white for me. So I was just like, Anglo in the dark would be much more fitting for me.
So it kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Anglo.
If I may say, with what you were saying about the libertarians being incredibly non-strategic, basically, and non-pragmatic, let me tell you how non-pragmatic they are. Right, and I've told this to a number of them. Do you guys realize, with what has happened, the transition that has occurred in the Republican Party over the last 10 to 15 years, if the libertarians simply waltzed right into the Republican Party, they would tip the scales so dramatically, the Republican Party would be almost entirely libertarian overnight.
Absolutely. And yet they won't.
You have a perfectly good party waiting for you to waltz right in and just grab the steering wheel. Would it be entirely libertarian? No, but I mean, it would be way libertarian, guys.
And that is exactly what I heard at one of my first conferences that American Majority put on, because they were saying, and this is the structure, the way they put it, is it's like a strip mall, a shopping center. The party is like a structure that's got empty space, and it only functions by what you put into it. So you can move some tenants out and move others in, and it takes on a new character.
Right.
And it's that easy. And most of the things, say for instance, that were accomplished at the convention that I went to, were arguing over what do we stand for, what are we going to support, what is going to be our platform, and who is our leadership. And we had some interlopers. There's two in particular I can think of that were very liberty-focused people who are now on the state committee because they had a purposeful, thoughtful campaign in their districts. They knew to whom they needed to speak, and they campaigned with them, and both of them won. One of them rather overwhelmingly over someone who was a Republican woman who I think the word deserved the spot was.
Whoa, really?
Yes. So, and this was a person I'd worked with on Deborah's campaign who had run and won, and so it was amazing that there is new character. There is a new character of leadership that's coming in. And they need supplementing from other people in other districts, and that's going to be a little bit difficult to do in the short run. But they did it, and they've got a blueprint now. So it is that, I mean, this is one cycle in which this happened.
That's great. Right? I'm thinking that's great.
It's fabulous. These are two people who believe in openness. These are two people who believe in transparency, two people who believe in educating people about issues, who believe in organizing, who believe in winning elections, and they do things in their lives that reflect that, and that is a great addition to the state committee.
Well, if they believe in winning elections, we'll get them out of there as quick as possible.
Can't have any of that crap.
Yeah,
Right.
It's offensive.
Well, and I think what we're able to do here is use words amongst ourselves because we kind of know what we mean. When we say pragmatic, we know what we're talking about, but we have to be aware that using the word pragmatism out in the general population, that is code word because so many of the actual establishment Republicans, they use the word pragmatism to disguise the fact that they really are kind of without principles and they're violating principles. They do that. And they use the word pragmatism to disguise it. So the word itself has become tarnished. And you can't really talk about reasonable and real, pragmatism without sacrificing your values, just going about it in a strategic way, because pragmatism has been stolen.
It's not just the establishment, though.
No, I know it's not.
It's both sides that have sort of come together and destroyed a phrase because instantly whenever somebody says pragmatism, that means they're a rhino, and only establishment people use pragmatism, and they use pragmatism when they mean roll over to the Democrats.
Right.
So both sides are very active in screwing us over when it comes to what our lexicons look like.
Correct.
Basically, the conservative movement as a whole has a very broad and storied history of idiocy.
Mostly when it comes to, each other.
We can be idiotic in every quarter. We are non-discriminatory.
Yes.
Yes.
We're very good at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
We're very discriminatory. That's the problem. We're super, hyper, ultra picky. It's like your peas can't touch your rice on the plate. They can't touch. Don't touch. They're bad. Everything has to be. It needs to be separate from everything else. We only need to do this stuff, and that's it. Go away.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what it is we understand amongst ourselves that we're using pragmatism as a way to adjust our tactics and our strategies, but we are headed towards the goal of conservative utopia. Whereas when elected politicians tend to use pragmatism, sure, you're shaking your head. Conservative utopia, no, but whatever.
For the love of God, don't say utopia. Please don't say utopia.
Is that another word that's not possible? Okay, greater conservatism, whatever.
We're looking to get a little bit more free. That's all we're trying to do.
Right. Whatever. But when a politician uses pragmatism, uses the word pragmatism, too often the suspicion, which sometimes ends up being reality, is that he's adjusting his goals and strategies, but the top of his pyramid isn't conservatism in any way, shape, or form. The top of his pyramid is his own personal income. And so we know that he's willing to sacrifice us, our beliefs, our principles, and our goals in pursuit of his own personal goal. So his pragmatism can be dangerous. And that's why the word is one of those code words that, sends off alarm bells and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay, Thomas Sowell quote in 3, 2, 1. Go.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't have it. I was expecting it.
What?
The Thomas Sowell quote that was relevant. I thought it was going to happen. I was just.
See, I thought you were offering a channel.
I thought it really loud. I just didn't say it.
What?
That the first priority of an elected official is getting elected, and the second priority of an elected official is staying elected, and that every other priority is somewhere far down, third, fourth, fifth.
Yes. Good point. Yes, there you go.
I don't necessarily believe that 100% of the time. I think it varies. I absolutely do think it varies among people, but I am also young and naive. So, plus in New Jersey, you have to, like, to prevent suicide and other bad things. If you're a conservative, you have to be a little bit on the denying, you know, things that are obvious and reality based a little. Otherwise, it's not fun.
There's no Andy Peth quote coming on? No Andy quote? Come on.
Nobody goes to Washington, D.C. to do what, Andy?
Oh, nobody goes to Washington, D.C. to do good. They go to Washington, D.C. to do well.
No, that's not the quote.
A lot of it has to do with sex.
Oh.
Nobody goes with the intention of screwing over the country. But when they get there, you remember?
No.
Dang it! I'm gonna have to quote the guy. He doesn't even know his own quote. I'll look it up.
That's awesome.
Listen to myself. I'm boring.
That's what I said. Not about you, but I've had that same thing presented, and it's like, no. You think we actually listen to ourselves when we speak?
I could never sit through one of my talks. I could not.
I would kill myself. It would just be
Maybe
brutal.
I were incredibly well paid. But, guys, I'm kind of wondering if we're seeing some, and I'm being probably way too hopeful. I should be more pessimistic because I generally am, but I'm kind of seeing a little bit more pragmatism on the right. I really am. I'm seeing more, let's advance the Tea Party in some of these red districts, and because let's face it, the Tea Party got clobbered in purple states and districts this time around, and that was a good thing. And I say that as a devout Tea Partier. So maybe we're actually, I'm not going to say we're totally getting it, because I see hatred like you wouldn't believe in these meetings. Okay, but I don't know. It sure seems like it's better than it was 4 or 5 years ago. What do you think?
I think that if you're talking about it, if that's how you feel, and adjusting for your bubble and who it is that you interact with,
yeah,
that's very hopeful news. Personally, that's what I think.
And I think it's all about incrementalism. And when the Tea Party first came about, it was brand new and roped in a lot of people into politics who had never been in politics before, and so we're bright-eyed and dreamy and going to change the world, and had some great successes, and woohoo, and you think we're going to change the world and it's going to be easy and it's going to be fast and awesome, and then you grow up and you realize and say, okay, so not quite as easy, fast, and awesome as we thought, so. But still, so is that worthwhile, or was that a waste of time? Do I just check out? No, actually, because things really do need to happen. I guess I should stay engaged and do the grunt work and figure this out. And incrementalism is the way things fell apart. So incrementalism is the way that things are going to get rebuilt. So, Dana Lash was kind of right in that the Tea Party is dead, because the initial part of the Tea Party, the guys dressing up as Indians and throwing the tea into the harbor, that was an event. And so that event happened and was done. But then what continues to happen is that, I don't know, the people who were the Tea Party then filter in and become the rebels and have the long war, and eventually then fight and win the long war. So no, we're done with the Tea Party event, so that Tea Party is dead, but we're learning and figuring out how to be a long-term solution, and we have to have a different name for ourselves than the Republicans. So Tea Party is kind of what stuck, I think.
What really got me depressed is that here's what I was hearing constantly in primary after primary or election after election. If the Tea Party can, and we saw it with Romney, Okay, if the establishment, the Tea Party constantly, and not just the Tea Party, but their radio personalities, like Levin and so forth, always phrased it in a win-win for them. Either the establishment candidate got in, as the candidate, and if they won, it's because of Tea Party grassroots pushing them over the top. If they lost, it's because we picked an establishment candidate. And if a Tea Party candidate got the nomination and went forward, if they won, it's because, never mind that it was in a hard red district, right? If they won, it's because, because people are waking up to the truth of these, of our values. And if they lost, they always colored it, it's because of lack of establishment support. Well, the establishment didn't support Christine O'Donnell in Delaware. Yes, they did. They all voted for her, and they gave money to her. There weren't enough of them to win, and they had no draw amongst independents. So what I mean is this. I constantly heard it being painted no matter what happened. It was like global warming. It doesn't matter if the weather's warm, cold, in between. It's all because of man-made global warming. We'll paint it that way. And the narrative I constantly heard from the Tea Party was, no matter what happened, anything good that happened was because of the Tea Party. Anything bad that happened was caused by the establishment, sitting back and not supporting them enough, even though they openly said if an establishment candidate got the nomination, they would close their checkbooks and stay home. And then if their guy got the nomination and the establishment did any of that, did exactly what they said they would do, they still blamed the establishment. And that's why I was wondering, can this ever be pragmatic? Am I making any sense here? That's why I thought it was so hopeless.
Well, and this is why I think to some degree we're getting screwed by our personalities that are at the top, because no matter what happens, they've still got an audience. No matter what happens, they've got people they can whip up about something or another. If it's a victory, they can take credit. If it's a defeat, they can cast blame.
Yeah.
And it is something that is one of the reasons that I've turned off, terrestrial radio altogether. I don't need a pep rally. I'm there. I'm down. I'm sure there are some that do. But I don't happen to be one of them. And I need practical. I need stuff because I want to win. I don't need to be told how bad it is anymore. I know. I got it. And I just wonder if there's a saturation point at which people think, it's just too much bad stuff. I can't do anything. I'm going to go home, and that it's counterproductive to what these hosts and personalities are actually saying. That it actually, this sort of the effect of them complaining and bringing up these egregious things that the administration does all the time is just not having the opposite effect of depressing participation because there's just so dang much of it.
Yeah.
Or leading to alternative, not actual strategies, but non-strategies that seem like a good idea. Like, I don't know, let's hold a constitutional convention. That'd be a great idea. Let's do that. That'll work out. Or as we've mentioned before a bunch of times, the overpasses for impeaching Obama, or any number of failed schemes that either steal from these guys or are just completely unhelpful. It's obnoxious, a lot of stuff that gets pushed our way by a lot of these hosts. But something else that I read about this Brat situation is that he was pushed very, very hard by Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham, yeah, that's her name. And I don't know if she's if she has a local show, or if she's nationally syndicated, or what her deal is.
National. Big.
But I don't know what effect she had on the race, but that's been the declared victory. It's been a Laura Ingraham Ingraham victory has been declared over this race. So that's another person that we can get thrown in the pool to gun down whoever it is that eventually wins in whatever election going forward. It's depressing that these are the guys that have this kind of power. There's nobody else there that has that same kind of similar bully pulpit, but I don't know.
That's interesting because Ingram is really a hybrid of Tea Party establishment. She is neither. I mean, she's definitely more conservative than establishment, and definitely much more, to use the word, pragmatic than Tea Party. So that's interesting.
Maybe that's it. Maybe we're getting better radio show hosts. Certainly, there are more of them.
Right?
That was the key.
No, I'm not. I'm honestly not joking about that.
One of the things I did hear in on Fox News this evening, they were talking about this particular win, and they had Laura Ingraham on with them, and they were talking about how in this race, the big Tea Party type organizations, the Tea Party Express, the Freedom Works, the AFP, all those, the big organizations with the money, didn't really get involved in this particular race, but that Laura Ingraham and Mickey Kaus and a couple of other, I don't know if Mark Levin did, there were a couple of other radio guys that did get involved and start pushing this race. And yay, Laura, you won, and maybe this tells us that if you have to choose between the political organizations backing you or the radio hosts backing you, then you really would want to go with the radio host guys, because I think they've just proven that they're far more effective at winning elections than the political organizations are. That was what was said on TV.
They are with the base. As JD was saying earlier, they play, or I think it was JD, basically, these radio hosts, they play to the base. I mean,
yeah.
Right. And to be honest, if you're thinking about this is also a victory for not getting involved in immigration reform at this time in the country.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's really what it was. I don't think it's a Laura Ingraham victory. I don't think that the message from here is that you have to really pursue the Laura Ingraham endorsement if you want to win. I don't think that's the right message to get out of this. I think the right message to get out of this is don't talk about immigration right now. Don't talk about immigration when we're wall-to-wall pictures of people with scabies crossing our border. Now is not the time to be talking about a comprehensive immigration reform that's going to count on us trusting the federal government to actually do anything that they said they would do, because they've broken so damn many promises with us. We don't trust them. Now is just not the time. And I think that's what the big lesson was. And the big lesson is don't listen to your political consultants, and don't listen to your polls, and don't take your victory for granted.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. That seems a little bit drastic, to throw all of that stuff out the window. Certainly, you're going to have this. To me, I don't want to say, oh, hey, this was a total fluke, but kinda. Like, nobody predicted this. This was not a.
It really depends on how it was messaged from this campaign of brats, and how many other people were talking about what issues would be good to dump Cantor for. I don't recall in my own reading, but I haven't paid attention, any really heinous things that Cantor's done. Mm-mm. But again, I'm not focused on the House. That's not where I think anything interesting is destined to happen as much as the Senate. So I've not been looking this cycle. That said, though, it's another thing that we don't do enough in the movement is to go back and analyze losses and victories.
Right.
And I think that that's something that we should do, especially in this race, since it was taking out a very well-funded and very highly powerful Republican, and replacing it with someone with far less money and experience and whatever.
You know what else is
with right principles. Go ahead.
Really quick, and then you continue. I just want to say, what else is shocking is that they didn't take out an old guy. They didn't take out an old, clumsy,
been there for 60 years kind of guy, right?
A McCain. They didn't take out somebody who is old, stumbles over their words. Eric Cantor is one of the smoothest talking guys in all of professional politics. Mm-hmm. On either side. I mean, he is a smoother speaker than Obama. He is. This guy is smooth. No, he is. I mean, I'm not going to say...
And he's a good-looking man.
I've always thought so.
So Andy and I are going to start dating Eric now.
You know,
But of course, if you pay attention to the guys tweeting from Vox, well, apparently it's because the Republicans just don't like the Jews. We finally discovered, oh my God, Eric Cantor's a Jew. Get him out of there.
Jewish Jew I've ever seen.
He's because Vox did tweet that now that Eric Cantor is gone, there are no non-Christians in the GOP elected in the House.
We can fix that, I'm sure. But, you know, I just...
Like, yeah, it was the Jewish thing. That's it. That's why he lost.
But seriously, guys, when have you seen a fairly, you know, I guess you can... Eric Cantor's not hardline establishment, by the way. I mean,
no, he's not.
He's establishment, but not hardline. A young, eloquent establishment guy lose like this. And I mean, part of it has to be lack of turnout, because his side, it's always this, you know, if your side thinks it's got it in the bag so much, a lot of them are going to stay home while the Tea Party people, you know, they're going to rally just to make the numbers.
Right.
No matter what. And some of that had to play into it. But overall, this is just a shock.
Well, and there was a slogan many years ago around Avis rental cars, and their slogan was, "We're number 2, we try harder." Because when you're in the number 2 position, you're going to try harder, and I think there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
And this race is definitely one to analyze. What was it that they did that was so successful that caught everyone by surprise, and how do we do more of that? And maybe it's that it was under the radar of the national media.
Do you want to do more of that if it's, you know, demagoguing on immigration, though?
I don't know. What
we don't want to have a massive swing and say, oh, hey, this worked here, so let's apply it everywhere else, because that doesn't work. That's not.
It worked. It worked there. Figure out what
the
worked,
other places,
why it worked, and where else it might. Yeah.
Right. But
immigration's an interesting topic when it comes to the polls, because basically it's this: the polls favor comprehensive immigration reform, but they do not favor comprehensive immigration reform as it is envisioned by the Democrats at all. The polls overwhelmingly favor numerous Republican points: e-verify, a secure border first, ahead of all things. Stopping government handouts, and so forth. I mean, the polls overwhelmingly favor Republican positions on immigration, but what they don't favor is no change, just enforce the law. That's the only thing. The absolute hard line all the way, quite honestly, which in a lot of ways I kind of like, but, the hard line all the way, I guess, Tea Party vision of it, that's the only thing the polls don't go that far. But if you break down piece by piece, they overwhelmingly favor our side.
And not that many people actually want to only enforce the laws. That should be the first step.
Yeah.
And because that's the one thing that has not been done at all, and it's not been done blatantly and vindictively and deceptively. It's like Obama and the Democrats have been going, neener, we're going to not enforce the laws, and you just try to make us do it. It's like they've been doing it in a very evil fashion. And then when chaos ensues at the border, and we say, well, this is chaos and it's bad, then they're saying, well, see, that's why we need to have open borders. It's like, well dude, I can't trust you. And yes, do I want comprehensive immigration reform? Absolutely. I want comprehensive immigration reform. That means a lot of aspects of our current immigration policy need to be changed and reformed. I don't want the bill called comprehensive immigration reform.
Here's the pitfalls. First of all, you only have the rights that you have the ability to defend. Okay, so if an administration is not going to protect you from, whatever, whether it's infringement of your rights or quote unquote invasion of people coming from other countries, whatever it is, you can only have what you can defend and what you can reasonably act on. So an administration that is refusing to prosecute where they choose, that is refusing to enforce law where they choose, that is a fundamental structural problem that
Right.
it can only be overcome by winning enough seats and enough offices and a presidency in order to reverse that fortune. And so getting into the fights ahead of doing that thing, whether you're on one side or the other, getting ahead into the fight on those issues ahead of that is foolish to me, because there's no sense taking a position that doesn't get you elected in the long run.
Obviously.
And so you can talk about the principles behind enforcement or whatever. It doesn't matter if you're never going to get elected.
But I mean, let's keep in mind, though, we have to say what we would do if elected. I mean,
well, yes, and you should. And the things to do or to talk about that are to look at plans that are out there, criticize the ones that are out there that are bad, praise the ones that are out there that are good, and God forgive me for saying it, stall until you get past 2016.
No, I think that's great strategy. I think that's great strategy, Fishy.
But right, you've got to win in order to enact any single thing.
But aren't we having the same problem with this as Obamacare? What I mean is this, and I'll interject for just a second. They are branding well, and we're not. Comprehensive immigration reform is great branding, and while we have 27 different plans. Obamacare is a terrible thing. Everybody hates it, but we counter it with 8 different plans.
Right. No, they've always done that. Republicans have always done that. Tax reform, Obamacare, whatever. They've always done that. You're right.
Well, that needs to change.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm waiting to get elected myself so I can fix people. No, seriously. But the other thing you were talking about is the optics, kind of the impression, the narrative that goes with that. I don't know what the story is with all these people showing up across the border being held in detention centers or something like that. I have not looked into that story at all, but let me tell you, the visuals behind that are pathetic, and I don't think it's rebounding to the Obama administration at all. It is a bait issue that is being thrown up in front of the public now in order to get everybody talking about immigration, because so many people on the conservative side suck at messaging about it.
Well, yeah, and this was going to be. I don't even know who to ask on this, because we have all of the pictures of the children in these detention centers. This is perfect for the image that you throw the hashtag on and you send out one an hour. But what is the hashtag that communicates that this is the result of telling the world that we don't enforce our borders, y'all come? How do we communicate? What's the hashtag that communicates that? Give us back our girls? I mean, I don't even know.
Well, and I don't know, again, I don't know the details of the story, but whatever it is, this administration has done such a good job of messaging to communities that we don't talk to, that whatever message they put out there about this incident happening or these incidents happening is going to be the one that sticks. And so unless you can talk about this being a direct result of something that the administration did, and draw the lines and connect the dots and prove it to people, this is just bait that's going to make Republicans say bad things that will lose them elections in November.
Well, this is why we got to get together and have better. Look, it's not like we haven't had good messaging. Drill here, drill now, pay less. In the couple of years that followed the launching of that, polls moved dramatically to the right on domestic drilling. Okay, we can put out on various issues, quick messaging. Well, I mean, geez, choice versus control. I mean, the kind of thing I do. We can do things. I want to control my own life, not yours. I've got one of the governor candidates now telling me agreeing that he's going to use that basically as his hashtag. I don't know if he'll win our nation, but we can package things in a better way on our side. It's not like it's impossible. I just think that part of the reason that it's so difficult is we're so divided and territorial. None of us wants to be the one who didn't come up with the hashtag.
I don't know that that's as bad as just who's the problem of who's going to sell this. If we were to start a campaign around that issue, around the failures of the Obama administration around immigration, the very first priority would have to be doing something to mitigate the obvious charges of, you know, racism, xenophobia, whatever, that automatically get pitched not just from Democrats but from libertarians at conservatives. Because conservatives, you know, do think that borders mean things, but there are libertarians that I've met and been reading conversations around, as in this past 2 days, specifically since this was such a big fight at the Texas convention, you know, who are running around talking about people being xenophobic because they're requiring this or that or the other parts, you know, in an immigration plan. And that they think that, you know, it doesn't matter. Borders are artificial boundaries, and they should be, you know, people should be able to go across borders without a problem. I mean, I don't know how you maintain the very, you know, fabric upon which you hang things in our country if you don't have some control over who is participating in the process that keeps those things going.
You don't. I mean, you ask a libertarian, look, what are the walls of your house for? Just to keep out the weather? I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Look, why do you have a fence in your yard? Look, people should roam free. Well, it's a nation. That's personal rights. What do you mean? Personal rights. A lot of people coming in and overwhelming your systems does violate your personal rights. Sorry.
Well, and it's, you know, compare that with private property. How is it that your own private property is sacred, and yet your boundaries of your country are not?
You guys, you got to stop. Your arguments, your counter arguments, are violating the non-aggression principle. It's really, it's a microaggression against me and my beliefs.
Words.
So please, like, cut it out, because I don't appreciate it. We're one big. It's humanity, man. Humanity.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya.
But I only like war for fun. My entire foreign policy is formed around Team America.
Well, and as for microaggression, I think we can all agree that JD has suffered quite a bit of that in this group. So
yes, he has.
He is.
Yes, lots of short people attack me. That's
Yes.
basically what happens.
Basically, yeah. She can't do anything other than microaggression.
I will say one thing that I will say one effective point that I've had with, I mean, a point that I've used with libertarians on this that has seemed to really hit home with them. I tell them, look, all this, dude, you're putting the cart ahead of the horse. And they say, what do you mean? I say, you've got all these social programs that we have right now that redistribute enormous amounts of wealth that you don't believe in. You've got to eliminate those first before you open the cattle doors and just have people run in to claim them. You see, if you were to do that, that changes everything. But you're leaving all these things that the Democrats, whom you hate, have installed that will draw all those people like moths to a flame. You're not first eliminating the flame.
Well, and I'd like to see how that stacks up against the data that they keep churning out that say, illegal immigration is a net financial gain to the United States. I mean, I don't know.
That
There
just
are a lot of
violates
people-
common sense. And when something violates common sense that dramatically, you know, how do you trust a statistic that's going to be...
When they roll out that statistic, Leslie, they never factor in the cost to public works, to public things. They never factor that in. All they factor in is this many people come in, we have this many more employees to raise productivity this much. They don't factor in at all the cost to public systems.
The displaced people who don't have jobs now
Yeah.
because the illegals take their jobs, and that's legit.
they
Oh,
factor
and
none of that in. It's a totally.
Yeah.
And,
I think there's a whole discussion on that we should probably save for another day on exactly what the breakdown of the problems are with the immigration. Kind of walk through all of the arguments on both sides and try to
How the
come to
hell do
some
we
kind of
message it? How the hell do we
yes.
message it?
I'm getting beat up no matter what position I take, so I just didn't. My personal belief, personally, and I articulate this all the time, that the best strategy for dealing with an immigration problem is to only deal with the business end, the hiring end, and if you sanction and fine that enough to where it doesn't help a business to try to look for low-cost illegal workers, then the problem takes care of itself.
Amen.
Now, can you sell that? Yes, as far as across a lot of people. Can you get it passed?
No, because you can't defeat the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, because the business
Absolutely
will
cannot.
campaign against it. So that's where I come down.
it's kind of the chamber out here actually would agree with Fishy on that, but the chamber in many states does not. So yeah.
Well, and the reason we have such a problem on the border, and most of them are not. Well, most of them now are children not from Mexico. And it's because the word has gone out in Central and South America that if you get your children here, they can stay.
Yeah,
They'll stay forever. And there's also the knowledge that if you get your children here, then eventually, with family reunification, you'll be able to come too.
of course.
And that's what the word is that is being passed out. And the financial incentives are there for these countries in chaos to allow their people to leave. And the financial incentive is there in Mexico for them to charge these people to transport you through Mexico and take you to America. So Mexico wants this to happen. The cartels are making a huge amount of money. The corrupt government of Mexico is making a huge amount of money, and they're just all being dumped on our doorstep. And they're kids. And what do we do with them? Send them back. Well, send them back where? We don't know where they're from. And what we end up doing is we hold them until we can get them in front of a court, and then they get in front of the court and they're given a summons to return in 15 days, and we never see them again. And we know we'll never see them again, but that's all we can do.
Yeah, I will tell you one thing politically that this is helping us with. There is a rising tide that is seeing this that wants a sealed border now.
Yeah, I think so. And if we, how do we get, because this is an issue that affects poor and the middle class and the unions dramatically. And most of what the Obama administration has done over the last 6 years is increase the life of, or improve the life of the upper class. I mean, we've seen the wealthy have gotten ridiculously wealthy, and there are a ton of ridiculously wealthy people. So the rich people have done really, really well. And the poor people have done okay because they got extended benefits and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And with the fraud that they're allowed to perpetrate, the poor have done pretty well, but the middle class is disappearing, and that's very characteristic of third world countries and dictatorships. Is you have the really rich and the really poor, and the really poor are dependent upon the really rich, so the really rich can keep being really rich, and you don't have a middle class. And the thing that made America America is our middle class. And I think there's got to be a way to help the lower middle class and the poor understand that the Republican philosophy is what helps them to survive and thrive and grow into the upper middle class. And the middle class needs to exist and thrive so that it's there for them to grow into. And some of this border invasion may be helping us make that case, but I don't know how to do it in a hashtag.
Once again, the log cabin Republicans, what they did with Polis
is they just put the gays on top of each other. I'm not sure how that helps us, but
gay on gay is the way to go, Leslie. What they did was this.
So the hashtag is on all of these pictures of the children in the children in the rescue centers is just hashtag gay on gay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Start doing that.
his hilarious comment aside, their ad was brilliant in this. What they did was highlight the rich liberal and show this rich liberal is not affected by by his advocacy. You are. Okay? So it's not rich Bill Gates who is affected by illegal immigration. He gets cheap labor. You're the one losing jobs. It's not rich Jared Polis who's affected by pushing green energy. You're the one who can't afford higher costs at the pump and higher costs with all your products. It's not rich. And what they did, so their strategy, which is very good, was, because by the way, JD, yeah, a lot of people get rich. They're almost all liberals. Okay, liberals are very rich right now. Most rich people are liberal, and so what they say is it's not the rich Hollywood left that is it's not the rich Hollywood left that's affected by this. It's you guys. It's your union jobs. It's these jobs. It's not the rich. You see what I mean? And let me tell you, Leslie, it's effective. It really.
Okay, so what's the hashtag? Gay on gay, right? Okay.
Gay on gay.
No. I
think JD's really scared that I'm going to start sending out memes that say gay on gay with children on them.
Which, by the way, comes out to gag. Gag, actually, but I just had to say.
Oh my God! No, that's not what I was. That's not what I was interjecting. I was transfixed there for a very long time. Not about that. No, the concept that you're explaining here is basically you're playing the income inequality. You're playing the crap. This is the same card as the 1%. This is the same as it's the exact same thing, except we are utilizing it. It's already a proven strategy. The methodology is already there. It's already, the fundamentals. We've seen this. It works. It's just using this tool, because it's not a tool of the left. It's a populist tool. That's what it is.
Look,
so
very simple.
we're taking a populist stance, and that's what we have to run with. We have to run with the idea. Go for it.
Yeah, all you do is use short wording and then say, doesn't affect the rich liberal. Okay? Higher gas prices don't affect the rich liberal. Cheap labor from South America doesn't affect the rich liberal. In fact, they benefit from it. Whatever it is that they're pushing, Obamacare doesn't. Well, here's another one.
Prices will not necessarily have to skyrocket.
Skyrocketing energy prices don't affect the rich liberal. Public schooling, the collapse of public schooling doesn't affect the rich liberal. Their kids are in private schools. One thing after another, it's about time to work that on them, because here's the difference. And then we can say, here's the difference. We in the right weren't advancing those things. Okay? They were. They're advancing all the things that won't affect them. We didn't advance those things. They did. Okay? I mean, and I think that's very effective. Just say, blank doesn't affect the rich liberal. Blank doesn't affect the rich liberal, but they're advancing it.
Yeah. That makes good sense.
Yeah.
And it is using the I hate rich people sentiment that's out there, but it's turning it to actual accuracy, because we're right and they're wrong. Always. We are right, they are wrong. And it's using it to our purposes.
And we're better.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's not like there's a dearth of really, really rich bankers that are leftists.
Right.
That's not something that we're running out of anytime soon.
No. And the Hollywood left, too.
Yeah.
I was in the Hollywood left. All the things they advocate in their movies only affect you. They say they don't want you to carry guns. They have bodyguards. They don't want you to have cheap energy. They're wealthy. And they live next to work. They don't want you to have you see what I'm saying? See how it works?
Class warfare. That's what I was looking for. That was the word that was in my head that I couldn't find. Thank you, Fishy, for finding it. Class warfare.
Yeah.
We can do it too.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
We can do it better.
We can do it better.
Because we got the truth on our side.
Yes.
Yeah, and taking that populist stance is a big deal. I think that's a really, it's a fascinating way to change the game. I mean, that is a big deal. I want to see that. I want to see that work. I'm sure, and that's particularly appealing to me because in New Jersey, the Democrats are all in charge, and that means one thing: that the Democrats are rich. They are money. They are, there's nothing else that you can say about it. They are rolling in it, and their constituents aren't. Their constituents don't, they have to suffer through the policies that are thrust upon them. So that's going in the notebook. That one is that's something I need to think about a lot. That is a really good thing.
Expensive toll roads don't affect them in New Jersey. Everything that affects you doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Because either they can afford it either it costs them virtually none of their wealth because they have so much of it, or something they can dodge altogether. You can't dodge it, you can't run, you can't hide, and you can't afford it. And
their ideas hurt us.
Yes.
Some phrase like that, because that then separates the rich liberals from the rest of us. Us being conservatives, libertarians, unions, poor people, welfare mothers, people trying to pay their bills. That puts us on the side of all of those people against the rich liberals who are trying to do this. Their ideas hurt us.
Right.
There's bound to be a way to hashtag that.
There's got to be a way.
This is something. This is a topic.
I'm thinking side-by-side pictures. A rich liberal who's promoting an idea, and on the right-hand side is mom trying to pay the bill, or something.
Yeah, Hollywood actors and actresses. We should look at this next week.
That's what I want to say, is that this is something that we have to revisit.
Yes, absolutely.
That needs to be this needs to be a topic of discussion and real thought, because this is a weapon that you can actually use. I think so. This is a pretty powerful, tool that we can implement in a lot of different ways.
And we learned it from the gay Republicans.
Gay on gay.
Ha ha! Gay on gay.
Thank you to the gays.
Gay on gay is our new strategy.
Wow.
That's a hashtag. I don't understand why you're so skeptical about this. This could take off. Come on, JD.
It absolutely could.
Get behind it.
And that terrifies him. It terrifies me as well, just so you know.
JD caught that, thank goodness.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Wow.
So with that, thank you to the Log Cabin Republicans for providing us with our homework for next week. And you know what? Last week we had homework to come up with a name, and we did. This week we have homework to come up with the class warfare meme.
I've already come up with mine, so you.
And we will come up with it thanks to the Log Cabin Republicans. I'm going to stop the broadcast now because, oh my gosh, 2 hours.
Yeah, because where else is it going to go? How much worse
really.
can it possibly
How much
get?
worse can it get? Well, basically because I think I need to eat dinner and go to bed now because.
Oh, okay. All right. As long as we know the reasoning.
The real reason, yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop broadcast now. Bink.